Actually, what's going on here is House Bill 5. You all are familiar with this. The City Council, this body, has passed a resolution in opposition to this, along with about 175 other cities throughout Ohio. House Bill 5 was voted on last week by the House, and it's moving over to the Senate. This bill is in reference to what they're claiming to be uniformity among local government taxes. They're saying that each community does it a little bit differently, and it's hard for businesses that cross over lines, and certainly can understand that to some degree, but that is home rule in Ohio, where we get to choose how we want to do things. By them taking action on this, it kind of overrules home rule in a number of areas. One of the most significant areas is what you call the net operating loss for corporations. If a corporation has a loss on their taxes for this year, they obviously don't pay taxes because they lost money. And some cities have extended a look back or a roll forward period that allows businesses to use those losses against future gains. And here in Canton, we have a 3-year roll forward process. So somebody loses money this year and they make a little money next year, they can write off some of their debt off this year's losses to next year's gains. And then they can do that for 3 years. Some cities have 0, some have 3, some have 5. A 5-year forward period is a pretty liberal policy for corporations to avoid paying taxes on 1 year's loss for up to 5 years. The law, the bill that they drafted, extends it to 5 years for all communities, forcing the city of Canton, who's only approved 3 years, to extend it to 5. And that could cost us significant amounts of revenue for businesses extending their debts. Another area that they have is in reference to when you have transient workers that will come into a community and work for a period of time, either construction workers or accountants or oil and gas folks, for example. They're going to come in and work on a site for a period of time. The current law, and the way it's written across Ohio, it's already uniform, so there wasn't any changes when they claim it's about uniformity. But the current law says that you can work 12 days in a city, and you don't have to file taxes. If you come in, you're here for a week or two, you don't necessarily need to file taxes for that short stint. But once you pass 12 days, you're then required to file taxes in that community. So if somebody's here for 3 or 4 weeks, they would be responsible to file taxes based off their earnings for that 3 or 4 week period of time from day one. And then they would file and we would collect those taxes. The law change takes it from 12 days for everybody to 20 days for everybody, so they can work in your community for up to 20 days. But the other change that it did, it says if you work here for 21 or more days, you only start paying taxes on that 21st day, which means you don't pay any taxes on the first 20. So imagine all those people that are coming to your community and working for 2, 3, or even 4 weeks, 20 days is 4 weeks, and they can then say, yeah, we're not paying, or if they have to work that 21st day, they pay taxes on 1 day, even though they've been here for over a month. So again, that takes a significant amount of revenue away from local communities. The third area that I'm going to point out on this particular one is in reference to small businesses. Small businesses now have, with this way this is written, would only pay income taxes or local income taxes where they're located. So even if they're doing business in the city of Canton, if their location is in Jackson Township, they would no longer have to pay taxes for that, no matter how many days they work in the city of Canton. And you think about this particular clause is really damaging because it not only eliminates the ability to collect taxes on businesses that are working in your city but not necessarily located here. So in my view, this is an incentive for small businesses to move outside of corporate areas and then come back in the city and do the work. And it's what this is. It's a tax reduction bill for special interests. That's all it is. And it's tax reductions on local income taxes. So just like the cuts that they made with the local government fund, just like the estate tax elimination, just like the cuts on the tangible personal property taxes that they did in Columbus, those were all taxed on local government revenue. And your legislators in Columbus stand up and say, hey, we've cut your taxes, aren't we grand? But they didn't have to cut taxes that they were operating off of. They were cutting somebody else's funding. And our government was structured based off the tax codes that we had and the revenue that we need based off of council and legislative policy that we've had here. And the state is overriding our ability to decide how we go to our constituents. And in many cases, the people voted on our structure. So this particular bill has many other clauses. We're estimating that this could cost the city of Canton several $100,000 a year, maybe as much as $1 million or more. And there's a lot of fuzzy things in here until you actually are able to actually see it in effect. You don't know the exact dollar amount, but it's a very disappointing piece of legislation that's going to take another hit on local governments. And of course, they're going to follow this up in Columbus with trying to ban the traffic cameras, which a number of cities use right now for safety as well as revenue. Again, at the local level, and they're trying to go after that. And I'll also point out that we were told by the folks in Columbus with this big marketing campaign about allowing us to support casinos, that cities like Canton would receive a big chunk of money that would help offset some of these cuts. If you remember, we were told specifically that the city of Canton would bring in somewhere between $6 and $8 million a year on the casino revenue. And that was our promise, and that was supposed to be additional dollars above and beyond what we already had. So not only did they cut us, but the casino money now is coming out to somewhere a little over $2 million a year for our community. So again, more broken promises from Columbus, and it's very frustrating. So I applaud this council for taking a stand with the resolution. I appreciate that. We're fighting the fight every day, but we need to keep getting the conversation out there and put pressure on the legislature. It went through the House. It's now going through the Senate, so we need to talk to our state senators to make sure that they understand that we are absolutely opposed to this, and that they have to realize that they cannot continue to attack local governments and taking revenue away from us.